Well, good morning and good to be with you on Good Morning Geelong. I wanted to make a comment today, which I guess some viewers will, will not agree with it very much, but I wanted to go into bat for what it's worth for our members of parliament. Not necessarily individually, although I know I know a few members of parliament, especially some of the local ones, and I think we're pretty, generally speaking, we're fairly well represented. But the whole position of members of parliament is it's a position that comes under fire from any number of different areas. And I noticed earlier in the week when a suggestion has been raised that members of parliament should be able to receive free counselling if they find themselves in a stressed situation. Interestingly enough, even the Herald Sun, which is normally fairly middle of the road in his comment, came out and said, no way, Jose. With all due respect to the Herald Sun, I'd like to take a different alternative, a different position on this. One of the things of which I suppose we don't realise about our members of parliament is that often they are people who, certainly for the hours that they put in, could be earning a lot more money than what they do in the private sector. Not necessarily all, but certainly many. They're pretty well on demand, 24 hours a day. They don't get lengthy holidays, and even if they do, if they're in their own local area, people can be asking things of them. I recently had a situation where I had to was advising someone. I said, look, take it to so-and-so, one of the local members of parliament. And it struck me, of course, that how often will people do that, in the sense that they'll have a problem, particularly if it's regard authorities or bureaucrats or whatever, and they'll go and park it on the desk, hopefully, maybe effectively, on their local member. Now, in many cases, of course, the member might be able to do something, maybe he might not be able to do something. But these are situations which can produce a lot of stress. I know, certainly from my perspective, people will come to me and say, look, can you help me with this, and can you help me with that? And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. If you're conscientious about those things, it doesn't sit all that easily if in fact you're not able to help people, particularly if it's some, this can happen even within the church, if there's some sort of frustrating area of church bureaucracy or church law or something which you personally wish was a lot different from what it is. So the perspective of members of parliament having a lot of stress-filled situations is something which certainly for me is very, very real, because the very nature of their work is there to help people who are not finding help in other areas. They're often not necessarily the last straw that people will go to. They'll try and work their way through a government system, be blocked here, be blocked here. What do? You go off to your local MP. Now, each of us, when we do that, we're one individual, but they may have a stack of difficulties and frustrating situations with which they have to deal. They have people on the phone, all to them, what's happened about my case, and have you been able to do anything further with this? No wonder they're under stress. Now, not all of them, but not all of them are necessarily seeking counselling. But it does seem to me that it rates alongside very much a whole work cover, occupational health and safety, this type of thing, where because of the very nature of their work, they are put into a situation where their own personal well-being could well be at risk. So I would respectfully suggest that our members of parliament are people who we elect. Sure, they may present themselves for election, but ultimately we do the picking. We cast our votes and we say, we want you to represent us. We want to make sure that they're, as much as possible, the best people for the job. And we need to look after them. They need to be well paid. They need to have a few breaks, and particularly federal parliamentarians, of course, are away from their homes. Most people go off to work and come home to their own home and their own family night after night and don't think anything different. Federal MPs particularly find themselves away in Canberra on various missions and so on for a long time. and that in itself can create its own areas of stress. And that's part of the job, but it's also part of our responsibility when we put them in the job to look after them. They need to be looked after, they need to be in the best of health in order that they can do the best job that they can. So as far as I'm concerned, if our members of Parliament, state or federal, need some assistance to manage the stresses that genuinely do come with the areas of authority which we ask them to undertake, we ask them, well, good luck to them, and I think they should be well supported. You may well disagree, and you're entitled to that, but it's something to think about today as we move into another weekend. Good to be with you on Good Morning Geelong.